it's hard to believe, New Orleans Saints fans, but the 2019 edition of New Orleans Saints training camp and preseason games are over, and it's time now to look forward to the regular season. It is the final CST training camp show. I am Todd Graffagnini. This is John DeShazier. JD, it's hard to believe, again, you go back to July 25th when veterans reported at the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. You go through the grind of training camp every single day. You get to this point. It's hard to look to when it begins, but now it's here and the regular season is upon us.
Yeah, long, arduous process. Again, we always have to note it's not as arduous and difficult as it used to be when players were doing two-a-days and full pads, but in today's NFL, this is a difficult process. You take it from beginning to end. You have a joint practice with the Los Angeles Chargers, and in between you have all the games and everything. So I think the Saints feel pretty good about what they were able to accomplish.
I don't think Sean Payton could be more pleased with what happened. The guys came in, they got their work done. There was no drama whatsoever. The only drama really of the entire camp was when Michael Thomas was going to actually come in camp, and that lasted less than a week. There were no catastrophic injuries to any of the main starters or even those backups. So all in all, I don't think Coach Payton could be more pleased.
Yeah, guys came in shape, and the main thing is the install. Installing your offense and your defense. Even though we don't see all of that installed in the preseason games, we didn't see it all, but that's what happens in practice, and especially the walkthroughs. They got to the install. They've probably been working on the Houston Texans for quite some time now, but they get into the preseason games and want to keep it vanilla, see if guys can maintain their technique, maintain knowledge of what they've been taught, and apply it on the football field. So we saw a pretty good sample size of that, especially with the starters in each game.
Well, we saw a pretty good sample size of young players on this roster before it's pared down to 90. One of those is linebacker Kaden Elliss, who, when Alex Anzalone went down with a nick, basically right behind us on the floor of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, the Minnesota game, way back when, we have seen Kaden Elliss take pretty much every rep that Alex Anzalone would have been in. So valuable playing time for the youngster.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to come in and be a special teams player, and one of the things that the Saints look for when they draft players, they say they want them to be tough and smart, and it seems that Kaden Elliss has been all of those things. He comes in as a late round draft pick. Alex Anzalone goes down. We know the season Alex Anzalone had last year, but Kaden Elliss fills in somewhat seamlessly. Yes, it will be a little bit more difficult when you get to the regular season games, but to be able to put him out there and give him that experience is invaluable for a young player.
He had another nice game to wrap up the preseason against the Dolphins. Let's go to the locker room and hear from linebacker Kaden Elliss.
I still have a long way to go in it, but playing kind of stack backer and Mike, seeing the line move and then kind of having the straight-on view of what the offense is doing and being able to read it. And I think I've grown a lot in that area, but I know I still have a ton to grow in that area at the same time. You know, like seeing Alex and AJ and DeMar, all these other guys, how quickly they read it, that's what I'm trying to learn. Those reps I got with the ones, you know, again, quick when I'm in practice with Drew Brees, his tempo is insane. But I'm glad for that because, like you said, each game, you're starting to see a little more in my view, you know. So I'm excited to get in, watch this film, keep growing, hopefully be around on come Monday and just work my tail off.
Well, JD, the wide receivers, also a young group, and of course, not every spot is full as we get down to the cut date in just a couple days, but we saw a couple of more perform tonight. We've been talking about Emmanuel Butler the entire camp. He had his first touchdown pass against the Dolphins. And then Lil'Jordan Humphrey, the rookie product from Texas. You know, he hadn't caught a whole lot of balls during camp, but every one he's caught has been productive. He had another big night tonight with a 43-yard catch.
Yeah, I think the Saints have a pretty solid top three. I think we know that, you know, Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn Jr., Traquan Smith, but beyond those guys, you know, whether it's Keith Kirkwood and Austin Carr, who were on this team last year, but didn't show a whole lot during preseason. They were injured part of the way. Emmanuel Butler, as you mentioned, Lil'Jordan Humphrey, as you mentioned. Guys had some opportunities to get out and make some plays and see if they can make a name for themselves.
Let's hear from some of those wideouts.
Honestly, it's been nothing short of a great experience. I've gotten to learn a lot, gotten to get close with a lot of these guys, and I've had a great time, like I said, learning and maturing throughout this entire process. Personally, I felt like, I could have done more, but it's not really for me to decide. It's for Coach Payton and the coaching staff to decide. And when they're in their meeting and they're discussing who's on the 53 and the practice squad, I hope they'll think of me.
I guess it's high. I feel like I did well. Didn't start off well in camp, but made plays day by day and got better every day, so I feel good. Just learning how to be a receiver, I feel that was the biggest aspect of it, just learning the plays, and I feel like I got the playbook down a little bit and learn how to little things as a receiver. So
adjusting from the school that I came from and just being around this type of energy, this type of atmosphere is probably the biggest thing. Tonight's game it's a blessing just like any other game. Like I said before, and whenever I talk, it's just a blessing just to be here, to come out here and put on the Saints uniform and represent this organization.
When we return to the final edition of the New Orleans Saints training camp show here on CST, we'll talk about the quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill, and how they performed during training camp. Welcome back to the New Orleans Saints training camp show here on CST. I'm Todd Graffagnini. This is John DeShazier. JD, we know who the #1 quarterback is for the New Orleans Saints. His name is Drew Brees. He wears number 9. We have seen Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill play extensively in this preseason. A ton of reps in practice, a ton of reps during the game. How would you assess their performances?
Well, I think both guys shown their capability of leading this football team. Both have a lot of respect in that locker room. Teddy Bridgewater, we know earlier in his career was a Pro Bowl quarterback before he suffered that devastating knee injury. And Taysom Hill has really improved as a quarterback in this system. When they picked him up from waivers from the Green Bay Packers, they felt like he was an intriguing prospect. We've seen how gifted he is physically as just an athlete, but now he seems to be rounding into being able to play quarterback in the NFL. Saints have a really, really good quarterback room. I don't know of a lot of NFL teams that feel like they have 3 quality players, and the Saints do.
Yeah, it's a pretty good problem to have. Let's hear from quarterback Teddy Bridgewater.
Being a part of this organization and coming together and seeing what really made us a special team last year, and to see our foundation be laid all off season, throughout the spring, throughout training camp. It was great to be a part of it, but now we know that it's for real now. Every game counts, and every game is important. And we use the preseason as a tool to continue to sharpen, our ship. And it was great for a lot of guys to get a lot of playing time. This is the most that I've played in the past couple years, so it was great for me to just be out there and moving around with the guys and continue to show that, we all can play in this league.
Well, JD, quarterback Taysom Hill continued to have a productive preseason. Tonight, 13 for 17. Actually had a couple of drops, and it looked like he was going to lead the team on the game-winning score. Unfortunately, the Saints fell about 6 yards short. But again, Hill has moved the team each and every preseason game.
Well, Graff, if there was an offensive MVP of the preseason, it was probably Taysom Hill. He's shown some pinpoint accuracy, and let's be frank, those were things we didn't see from him last year during training camp. He is evolving as a passer, and again, intriguing prospect. When the Saints brought him in, they thought he was capable of these kinds of things, and they said that, and everyone was kind of looking at him like, yeah, we see some scatter shot throwing here, but he's really shown that he's picked it up and become a more well-rounded quarterback.
Back to the podium and quarterback Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I felt really, really comfortable. I would say, in 2017, my rookie year, I got here so late that the focus and emphasis was putting together a team that was ready to play week in and week out. And the reality was I just wasn't an emphasis in that. And then 2018, I was able to learn the system from the ground up, which was really big for me. And now fast forward to now, I just continue to build on the foundation that I'd had from 17 and then really 18. And I feel like my understanding of the offense and being able to manage a huddle, go through different checks and the various responsibilities that are put on the quarterback in the offense, I feel a lot more comfortable in doing that. And I think that I'm able to play faster and make better decisions because of it.
When we come back, we will wrap up the 2019 edition of the Training Camp Show right here on CST. Well, we have reached the final segment of the New Orleans Saints training camp show right here on CST. I'm Todd Graffagnini. This is John DeShazier. First of all, JD, it's been a joy to work with you. It's been an awesome training camp to watch this team kind of get better each and every day. I don't think there's any question that Sean Payton has this team poised to make another run.
Well, Graf, there's a reason this team is one of the favorites to reach the Super Bowl. They're a really good team coming off of a difficult ending of last season in that NFC Championship game, but you don't see the after effects. Now, of course you think about it. You're only human. You have to think about it, but you don't see the after effects in terms of a hangover, in terms of guys not putting in the proper work, or in terms of guys really focusing on that so much that they haven't been able to move past it. So I think that's a good thing for this team.
No question about it. Again, it was great to work with you, John DeShazier. Also want to thank Brendan Hassett, our producer, who's done a fantastic job putting these shows together each and every day for the fans on CST. So it's been a joy to bring you these training camp shows all summer long. And now as we head into the regular season, we'll turn it over to Mike Neighbors and Scott Shanley for their CST shows. For all involved, thank you so much. We can't wait for the regular season, and we'll see you down the road.